And here comes the
your culinary host, and
you come.
welcome to Your Town. I'm Chef Wendy Brodie with Art of Food, the culinary host, and my guest today is a wonderful man, Edward Chiorazzi, that I've known for a while. I won't say how many years, it'll date us, won't it?
For sure.
But he is designer, floral designer, event planner, but just one of the most creative spirits that is part of the fabric of the culinary experience. It's far beyond food. It's about the setting and all the creative things you do.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, and let's get you started. How did you begin in life?
Well, first I want to say that's an honor for you to choose me, because it makes me really think of what I've done over the past. Looking through pictures and different things has me really thinking about what I've done, and I'm looking forward to doing some more. I started, I'm from the East Coast, so I started in the East Coast, and I made my way out to the peninsula, but I've been in hotel management. I've been working at a bank, and all these things were fine, but they weren't as creative as I wanted to be. So the Monterey Peninsula had a draw for me, and before you knew it, I found myself admiring an artist that was here. His name was Michael Widener, and he was in. Michael Widener was fabulous. Yeah, and he started at the Grove Homescapes, and I told him I will work for free. Just get me in there, and he called me Cupcake, and he wanted to know if I was coming in that day after my work, which I was doing. I couldn't give that up quite yet, but I enjoyed just seeing him work and create, and just taking simple things and making it into something that people really responded to. And we were at Homescapes Carmel or Pacific Grove at that time, and that was really cutting edge for its time. It had a beautiful space, and it brought in a lot of people, and it was almost as if it was a stage, really. And so I wanted to be part of that. And before long, they told me they could not have me there without paying me, and so that evolved into a job. And so from there, I did some wonderful floral arrangements, and that's what mostly my passion was for, is just doing arrangements, doing them in homes and installations and such. And that got me involved with plants and just getting into homes, and where I started to do more with plants and flowers into these homes. And then I ended up getting known around town, because it is relatively a small peninsula. And so I have different charity events. It could be Meals on Wheels, and I've had a lot of fun creating themes with Meals on Wheels, which is a great event that happens at the end of every year, and it raises a lot of money for Meals on Wheels. Also, Kinship Center. I've worked on the opening of Bach Festival, and over the years, it's just I've never had a business of my own, but I've always been available to many countless florists and designers, and been very happy to be in that role and just experience just different venues and just different creative things.
Well, also one of your sort of sidelines is that there's so many people with second homes in the area, or who live here that want to avail themselves of your services. And initially I had designer and more, but the more part is that if somebody wants their home done for Christmas, I mean,
I'm right there.
So that's something I don't think people know that is available to them with that many people?
Sure.
And how do you advertise for something?
Well,
like
I mean, it's word by mouth.
Yes,
Is how
of
it
course,
works. And
of course.
so the clients I've had, I'm proud to say I've had for 15 years. And because we live on a peninsula that has so many second homes, there is a service there that's needed to watch these homes. And sometimes these homes have parties, and they need to have someone to head those parties and find all the best people and those ideas. And so, you know, I love working with them and just making it into something special.
Well, let's go back to your first love and
Floral design.
Floral
Sure.
design.
Well, floral design is what I wanted to touch on is just with floral design, you know, there's amazing artists out there, and I work with a lot of them in the area. I've had the opportunity to work on the famous Sean Parker wedding, which was not too long, or maybe it's probably 2010, I think. And so I was able to meet a lot of designers through that wedding. It was a huge
Where
event.
was it?
That was in the Redwoods down there. It was a big, very publicized event.
Oh, you mean in Big Sur?
In Big
that,
Sur,
and
yes.
that wedding.
Oh, that wedding, yeah. And so that put together a lot of designers, and it brought in people from New York, and there was a lot of great energy there. And so what happened was that led to meeting other florists and then working with them. And so I've been very honored to be part of that. It's still going to this day. All the energy that went into that wedding, that particular wedding, had resulted in a lot of connections that are still, I'm very happy to still have today.
Didn't you say you're going to Lake Como?
Yes, yes. Well, a good friend of mine, she is a floral designer, and she's on social media. And so with social media, it makes the world so much smaller now. So now these, maybe there's destination weddings. Well, they want to bring their florists along. And so on this, I know, and this is so special because I'm being taken along on this particular one. So I have to say, I'm not always the lead, but I figured out I could still have wonderful enjoyment and just being soaking it all in and being part of it, and then working with different people, and that's been really a joy for me. And there's a lot of different companies that hire you for large events, and it's just wonderful to show up and the flowers are there and you just create, and then you're on your way and you're on to the next thing. And so there's a beauty in that, and I love that about florals and stuff. And I know I want to say this too, because I know you have a wonderful catering business. I've always admired the caterers because they work tirelessly. I'm usually the florist that's watching the caterers, and they are there setting up, they're during the event, and then they're breaking it down. So I just wanted to say that to you because I'm always impressed on what goes into catering. It's just amazing.
I had my first 21-hour day recently.
It's just amazing. And so I mean, I've chose this career and I enjoy it. I like the temporariness of flowers because they're beautiful and then they go away, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because that means more fresh and you bring new. And so it's something that is just the temporariness of a party that you create, and then you can reinvent the next week, you know, and it's just
in a different fashion,
right?
With
different ideas,
yes.
And that's what I wanted to say about Meals on Wheels. Has been a lot of fun because you don't always have to do it elaborate. You can be very creative, and some of the pieces I've done were simple. I went to Home Depot and I got paint chips and put them on the table, and I have pictures of that.
Well, this was an artist's table. I remember that.
Yes, that was a lot of fun to
do. Besides that, didn't you have paint buckets and small?
we covered the chairs with plastic.
Every detail.
I know. We covered the chairs in plastic, and we put do not paint or wet paint on as bows on there. And in design, what I've discovered is I like to just get down to basic and try to come up with things that people are very familiar with, but put it into a fashion that really makes it special. And so it was just a lot of fun to create these different things that are so available to anyone and make it into something great. And to see the reaction of people is just marvelous. And so and it makes you want to do it some more. And so over the years, I've come up with different concepts. I did one where the table was actually a fashion show. So
that was last year.
Yeah, that was last year.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
But
so
describe.
We had the diners on either side of the table and the runway where the models walk back and forth on on the actual table, which was a challenge because you don't want rocking wine glasses. So that's another thing about design is like it could have the concept, but it has to work too. So it was a great thing, and I think and we did MOW, which was a brand, a fashion brand, which actually means Meals on Wheels.
Wheels, yes.
Yeah,
I
so
think
we made it into a brand, so that was a lot of fun to do.
It was spectacular, simple, and was it silver and black? I mean, I
we
remember
did black and white. Yeah,
black
pretty
and
much
white,
kept it basic. I had some of these great lights like we have here today, and it was a lot of fun. So it's fun to look back, like I was saying earlier, to look back at these pictures and see. And I never want to call myself an artist, but then you start looking at things.
You are.
It's hard to get to that. Are you?
I know.
Because you're asking me, what am I? Well,
yes,
I know.
it's who you are.
Right, it's who you are. Right.
It's the creative spirit and the arts, and
Well,
hopefully we are all that or following that dream of expressing
and
ourselves.
what I want people to take from this is they can, I mean, most people are intimidated by it, and I just want them to know that you can go to just simple concepts where you could just do a table of just sunflowers, just tons of them, and have such an impact, and that could be at Safeway or wherever you might go. You don't have to go to the Flower Design Center, or you can just I go to the farmers market all the time, and how many people have seen orchids just standing there? Well, if you get creative and go at home and find interesting containers, it could be anything, your favorite ice bucket or whatever it could be. I mean, just plop those things in there and you have an arrangement. And so what people need to know is that they can just not be intimidated by design and just kind of come up with things that no one would think of, but make you smile, give you an impact, and that's what I love about design, and I want people to learn that, is not to be so intimidated. Like, I did some Thanksgiving arrangements, and I had some flowers, and then I said, well, why don't we just throw some fruit in there? So you just jam the fruit in there, and it looks, I mean, it looks like a Dutch painting when you're done. So it's just don't let it be intimidating, and just relax and just walk around Safeway or wherever, and you'll find all kinds of things to come up with.
Fortunately, they've got the produce usually right next to the floral
Yeah,
departments.
that's true. So
and
it's a
very
no-brainer.
What you want to buy, it's like eye candy, and
yes.
Oh, you didn't think that was on your list, but gosh, maybe I should pick up those flowers.
Sure. I've recently had a chance to travel to Brazil, and I was so inspired by the color. And so, like, you're using the colors of fruit alone are just fantastic. So take an orange, slice it in half, and show it in your arrangement, or I mean, just the colors of grapes or anything. It's all out there, and it's right in front of you. It's just you have to have the imagination and just get over it.
Well, do you need to, when you're pre-planning an event and get an idea, like the produce, even though we're so lucky all year long to have most everything available to us, but do you need to be cognizant of what flowers are available during certain times?
Yeah, for sure. But actually, I let that place tell me what to use. So I'm not usually dragging myself ragged. You know, usually a bridal may come along and want a certain thing. Well, that can be difficult. That's why I don't do that. But what I do is I'm inspired by just walking in the store. That's what I said about.
Right.
So go in the store, see what they had. I saw I'm so inspired by just yellow, red, and green peppers, for example.
Oh,
and that you could just set a
and
whole theme just for that.
And,
And so what you do is you find something you love, and then you build on that. And so it could be something, you know, even star fruit is wonderful. You know, just cut it in half, and you have these wonderful things. And so anything that's not going to rot, you know, you just have to be mindful of that. And
the dragon fruit, those,
wonderful.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And but just, I mean, even now with the holidays coming up, just grab apples, all kinds of apples, and all the wonderful colors, and they look great in any arrangement next to red roses, or you know, you can just not necessarily be matching, just make it very organic, and you'll be impressed with yourself. So go ahead and do it. Get out there.
Try.
I mean, of course, you as a caterer, you want to have your food look beautiful. So it's an integral part of just giving a great representation of soul and, you know.
Well, they say it is really a health thing to have fresh flowers.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's certifiably scientifically
for sure. I mean, what would a
proven.
wedding be without flowers, right? Sure, for sure.
Exactly. Well, with flowers, when they have an arrangement that they love, are there tips on how to keep it fresh or that you could share?
Usually, well, sometimes things are in Oasis, so you always, if they're using Oasis, which is a floral brick.
And where would they get that normally?
Well, I think, Michael's or Beverly's have these available. Make sure you're not getting the silk floral brick. You're getting the one that can hold water. That's very important.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
there was
and it's
a
very
difference.
it's very important to get the one that holds water. And then what you do is you soak that in a container, and you can cut that to the size of the container, and then sometimes you have to stack them up. Recently, I just did an arrangement for the quail, and we did all Hawaiian, so I had to build the Oasis all the way up so then I could have control on where the Hawaiian flowers went. And it really, I prefer doing larger pieces too, so you definitely need an Oasis so you can keep everything in shape. But a little touch of bleach never hurt. Just be mindful of your clothes, and then that'll keep the smell down, especially if it's flowers.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just a touch of bleach, and that always helps.
And any thoughts for dinner parties? I mean, is there either low or high?
Well, that's
or
always a
something?
thing about people want to keep it low.
But
for sure.
tips that,
what I like to do, sometimes people are so set on using vases all the time. It's not that necessary, because if you're having a dinner party of maybe 2 or 3 hours rather, the flowers are going to live. So you don't have to be caught up in, is the flower going to need water? So you can go out and just get greenery and just run it down the middle and then stick the roses in with nothing. And you'll be fine for the night, and it'll be very impressive without all of the Oasis to deal with in the water. And so for temporary events, like if it's 4 hours or so, you can get away with flowers not in the water. Don't be afraid.
So we're going to add another adjective, a stager, a flower stager.
Right, there you go. That could be. It's all about the look, right? And so how it's presented to you. And with the people I've worked, I've done many arches for weddings and stuff, and it's just for that temporary bit of time that's people having all those pictures and all that, and so you're creating this, and I tell you, once the wedding's over, it all comes down, and it's so you can't feel bad about it, but you just know that there'll be more. So it's these temporary pieces of art you get to work on and enjoy.
And just a quickie before we wind up, what happens afterwards to all these flowers from these great events? I mean, should people sneak by, and are they in garbage? What happens to them?
It's a funny, you bring that up, because it's always been a tickler with me. I think part of design is people should have a plan to get the flowers home with people, and that could mean bringing certain containers or whatever the case may be, because there's nothing more sad than just, people, I mean, just spreading that joy. And so usually with any event design, you would want to have a plan. So when this is done, I will have these containers, maybe I think you're going to be talking about later, just put them into containers and then bring them home. But have that accommodation for those people.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
And so that's something that I think as a designer it's responsible, because I've come across certain ones where it just goes in the trash, and it is heartbreaking, but it doesn't deserve that. So it's been a pleasure to talk to you about these exciting ideas, and don't be intimidated by design, and just do your best and think outside of the box.
Well, you are so creative, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do on Meals on Wheels this year.
Well, now I guess it's down. I have to do it now.
Yes. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I made you. I'm on.
All right. I hear that. Okay.
Thank you so much.